I think as Christians, we're getting to the place where, you know, we need to really think about how we are approaching and how we're utilizing the influence that we do have in that political scene. You know, because I feel like we're being taken advantage of. That's no secret. But at the same time, I think we're too engulfed in it. I think we are, you know, kind of embedded within that process so much so that I think it rules us more than we rule it. All right. Welcome to the Church Dropout podcast. My name is Alan. I'm the host and I'm joined by
Lisa.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Church Dropout is a podcast. We talk about issues, topics, and teachings related to faith, life, and culture in ways that are sometimes funny, sometimes serious, but always insightful. If you have not already, please like, rate, and subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast at. We'd appreciate it. Thank you so much for those of you who have already subscribed, and then also those of you who have shared our videos. We really do appreciate that. So I want to talk about something. You know, one of the ways that we try to connect with you is by putting these polls out. Like, I just like to hear from, you know, the people that, you know, we talk to regularly, right? Just want to hear your thoughts on some of these things, talking about the audience. And so one of the polls that I put out was on Jesus and political parties, Jesus, the disciples, and political parties. And I want to go over the results of that poll and then talk a little bit about it, maybe ask some questions as it relates to maybe how I think or how I view or how we view, you know, faith and politics. And maybe this has been an age-long conversation. It's not going to happen within these next 15 minutes or so. We're not going to find like the answer to all of this. But I do think it's interesting, especially as we continually approach this, you know, election and different things of that sort, obviously with the characters that are involved and how Christianity or evangelicalism is being pressed, or how our involvement is from the inside out and how it's being pressed from the outside in. I think it's a valuable conversation to have for us to talk about. Okay, so I want to read through the poll real fast. So I'm gonna pull it up. So the question was, if Jesus or the disciples were present today, do you think that they would align themselves with a particular political party, right? And that's, you know, obviously Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Independent, whatever political party you think of. Would Jesus align himself or the disciples align themselves with a political party? Now, it's interesting because especially like when we did the Trump video, you know, there was a lot of pushback from individuals who were aligning themselves with a specific political party. Right. And again, we're only polling, you know, the folks that listen to, you know, our podcast. So this is not like the internet, but I thought the results of this was super interesting. I expected something different, to be honest with you. Or at least a little bit more, you know,
like yes and no.
It
would be kind of, it wouldn't be such a big gap.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a landslide, so to speak.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So in looking at it, 8% said yes. And I put why, and I don't know if it just wasn't clear because I wanted people to comment, like, you know, talk about why you believe that. But 8% said yes. They believe that Jesus and the disciples would, you know, align themselves with a particular political party. I think some of that might just be some trolling or something, you know, just people just saying yes, just to say yes. But
maybe not,
you know. 88% said no, and 4% said unsure. And I thought, to be honest, this would be a little bit more even between the yes and the no, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And mainly because the way we tend to be so polar opposite when we talk about politics, I think people have their stances. I was just surprised to see that so many people, or, you know, again, out of the 114 votes that we had, feel like, no, Jesus nor the disciples would ascribe to a political party. I was just surprised.
Yeah.
Are you surprised?
No, I'm kind of, actually, I would think it would be more in the unsure too. You know what I mean? More like, I'm not sure. That's a good question. Like sometimes I don't think people actually, I know I haven't thought about that question.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah. And then just based off of a lot of things growing up, you just hear, if you're a Christian, you're automatically Republican. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it was like Christian, Republican kind of went together. You know what I mean? So,
and for people who don't know, you grew up in a mega church, right? Mm-hmm. Pretty much in a mega church.
Yeah.
Predominantly white church. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and that's kind of how you heard it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, me having, kind of, and spiritually grown up in a predominantly black church, definitely would have been Democrat.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Overwhelmingly. So, which is very interesting because black folks in general tend to be more conservative. Interestingly, when it comes to their life, it's interesting that a lot of black folks vote Democrat. You understand what I'm saying? It's just an interesting dynamic, but we're not going to talk about that right now. That's a whole
another
series. Yeah. But no, yeah, I thought it would be a little bit more. I could definitely get the unsure because I don't think, in all honesty, I'm not sure we as Christians really have a worldview that encompasses politics, I guess not in the way that we should. Like, instead of having an integrated worldview, a lot of Christians have a worldview that's, very compartmentalized. You know what I mean? So over here's my faith. You know what I'm saying? Over here's my family. You know what I mean? Over here's my career. Over here is politics.
Yeah.
And they never really intersect. You understand what I'm saying? And so part of the issue, in my opinion, is that I don't think we have a fully integrated, worldview when it comes to politics. But maybe that's also why people would say no, and then still feel an allegiance to a specific party.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Now, again, some people feel. Some people roll with certain parties because of certain convictions. I get that. This is not just because I'm a Christian, I vote a certain way. So, just providing balance. I get it. Some people are very concerned with certain issues and they drive that issue in their voting. Right. So I get that. But yeah, I thought this was interesting. That there was an overwhelming amount of no's in this particular, sense. Now, I would agree with that. You know what I mean? Like, I do not believe that Jesus nor the disciples would align themselves with a political party at all. That is not to say that they would not consider themselves to be citizens.
Yeah.
Right? Because we even see that in Scripture. Paul was a citizen of Rome, and he used that citizenship, which is, very interesting. He used that citizenship in a way to advance the gospel. He was trying to get to Rome to preach the gospel, and he was using his citizenship as a Roman citizen to, I need to get, send me here because, this is the law. If something happens, you need to send me to, Agrippa, all this type stuff to get to where he was trying to go in order to get the gospel there. So he definitely used his citizenship, but I don't think the disciples nor Jesus today would ascribe to a political party. And I will say this too, I really don't think, let me back up a little bit. I don't think they would, because I think that they would have seen their kingdom, they would have seen the kingdom as priority, and to align yourself with a political party, I think it would have been like, I think that's bleeding over a bit. You understand what I'm saying? Like, one has to take allegiance over the other.
Right.
I just don't think that, that would have been the case. And, maybe let's take Jesus out of here and talk about the disciples a bit. But Also, I think in today's culture, I think that if they were here today, if the disciples were here today, one of the reasons why I don't think that they would align with a particular political party is because of the political climate. I think they would have deliberately stood outside of the political landscape to make a definitive statement that Jesus is king and 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 we need to honor that.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like sometimes sometimes protest is necessary. You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes you need to stand outside of something in order to help people to understand that, no, there is another way. Yeah. There's a better way. And opting out in terms of participation with that sometimes is a form of protest to say, hey, listen, we need to move in a different direction.
Yeah.
And I think as Christians, we're getting to the place where, we need to really think about how we are approaching and how we're utilizing the influence that we do have in that political scene. Because I feel like we're being taken advantage of. That's no secret. But at the same time, I think we're too engulfed in it. I think we are, kind of embedded within that process so much so that I think it rules us more than we rule it.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I just think it was interesting. Man, now it makes me want to do something more, to be honest with you, and just kind of figure out, like, from a larger population, how people feel. But I would also like to know how people think this through, right? Let me just read a couple of these comments that were mentioned. One comment was, our citizenship is in the kingdom of heaven. I do vote and I'm independent and am independent. And so absolutely, our citizenship is in heaven. Voting is, fine. It's not a sin at all or anything like that, right? We know that. But I guess they register as an independent. Second person said, his kingdom is not of this world. I agree. I'm assuming that they were saying no. His kingdom is not of this world, which again begs the question for me, if Jesus' kingdom is not of this world and Jesus wouldn't align himself with a political party, why would we?
Right. Yeah.
That's like, why would we? If Jesus wouldn't do it, the disciples wouldn't do it, why would we?
Right.
And lastly, he has his own kingdom. No need for the foolishness of imperfect political parties with imperfect people. And laugh emoji, 100%. And I agree with that. You know what I mean? I do believe that the kingdom of God is its own kingdom, obviously. And I think we ought to be very careful of how we and who we give our allegiance to. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I don't think it's a sin, obviously, to say you're a Republican or to say you're a Democrat or a Libertarian or independent. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Right.
Don't want people to misunderstand me. I'm not saying it's unbiblical. I'm not saying anything to that degree. It is not a sin. It is not, you know what I mean?
It's just something to think about.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Because in today's culture, it means more. And that's where I think, again, as Christians, we make the mistake, although words change over time. Definitions change over time. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When we were growing up, if we were to say, why you capping?
I knew you was going to say something.
Well, I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? Like, why you capping?
Why you capping?
We talking about one another.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like we're what our parents used to call doing, the dozens or whatever it's called, back in the day. I don't know. Anyway, try to throw a little history in there.
Yes. But okay, so what's the capping called now?
Cap is saying you're lying. That's cap.
Okay, so now it's not capping, it's now cap.
Yeah, that's cap.
Okay.
But if I say you're capping, I'm saying you're lying. So I could say, like, you're capping. You know what I mean? That's you're lying. You know what I mean? But most of it, they would just say that's cap.
That's
just
cap.
To keep you, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Now you're trying to use that. You all smiling because you learned something new.
That's cap.
Oh, Lord. I don't think they do it like that. That's cap. I think they're doing it like that. That's cap. Yeah. That's cap.
I could not.
But words change over time.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Or the meaning changes over time.
Yes. Yes.
And not only do words change over time, I think I don't know what to call it, but the significance of a word could change over time. And so what I'm saying is that to say you're a Republican today means something that it didn't mean years back.
Right.
Right. And I think we have to look at that. Same thing with evangelicalism and all of that. It had a particular meaning, but what does that mean today?
Right.
Right. Democrat had a particular meaning. What does that mean today? Right. What association does that mean today? So you have to think about those things too, right? That the way we use those words has a different connotation and a different strength than they do today. And I think when it comes to politics and it comes to particularly to Republican and Democrat, you definitely have to ask, well, what do you mean by that?
Right.
If you say I'm a Republican, if you think I'm conservative, I no doubt ask, well, what do you mean by conservative?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we got to define these terms because these terms change over time. But anyway, we would love to hear your thoughts on this. Thank you so much for tuning into another Church Dropout podcast. And again, we appreciate it. Please like, rate, subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast at. And we ain't capping. It's cap. All right, y'all. We out.